Hello friends, in Unit 2, up till now we have discussed the different types of communication, and you would recall that we have now had a detailed discussion on the verbal communication. We differentiated between the written and the oral, which are basically two types of verbal communication. Then we talked about the non-verbal communication also, wherein we talked about non-written communication as well as written communication. In written communication we talked about the use of pictures, diagrams, etc. While in non-written communication, we made use of paralanguage and body language. We discussed how the two differ from each other. We talked about gestures, postures, accessories as part of body language, and we also talked about the accent, the stress, the volume, etc. as part of paralanguage. So this was the discussion that we have already had in the last few sessions, and you would recall that these are the topics that we have covered already. Now today we'll be talking about the formal versus informal communication. Now why have I taken this particular topic here? Because it has been also given in Unit 2, so we are just going to move quickly through this particular topic, though you would recall that we have already discussed it in the earlier sessions. Now I hope you remember, and I have given this example earlier also. For example, if there is a holiday, many times you get to know through formal channels how maybe the timetable coordinator or the in charge of student affairs will send across a message to you on your WhatsApp, or we may make a formal announcement in the class. So these are examples of formal communication. On the other hand, if a teacher of yours has his birthday or her birthday on a particular date, there is no formal announcement which is made to you. You do not receive any formal communication, but still you get to know from your friends or maybe from your teachers, from other faculty members. This is an example of informal communication, right? Somebody meets an accident, you get to know through informal networks, because no formal communication is sent to you that so and so has met an accident today, right? So this is the difference between formal and informal communication. Fine. Now please understand, in an organization both formal as well as informal communication play a role, and in fact many a times informal communication gains much more importance in organization, because it helps the employees in the organizations communicate with each other, and it helps them develop a camaraderie among them, which is good for the organization, because then they would be able to exert greater effort as a team for the organizational objectives, right? Now, formal channels within the organization. What are the formal channels? They carry official messages in the organization, and there is a particular predefined format. However, they are very, very slow, because there is a particular format that you have to follow. So for example, if you have to apply for leave, you have to use a particular format of an application, and then you have to send this application, show it to your faculty. So this is going to be very, very slow. But where do informal channels come into play? Informal channels come into play when the formal channels are not adequate. They are not sufficient to communicate all the information that the employees in an organization require. So informal channels come into play. For example, the teacher has not turned up for the class, and there is no formal communication why he has not turned up. There's a formal communication that he is not going to come today, and that the class would be replaced by some other faculty member. So you have that formal communication that this particular teacher is not going to come, but why? You do not know, and in that case you would rely on informal networks. So you may go and try and find out from the other faculty members, or maybe ask your friends why this particular teacher has not come today. Fine. So whenever the formal channels are not sufficient, the informal channels come into play, and I've given you an example of grapevines, the rumors that go about in organizations. Okay, the teacher has not come. Okay, he's going to get married. Oh, great. So no formal communication to you, but you still get to know about this. Then the information moves relatively faster. because there is no particular format that you have to follow, and the information moves within those groups in which the members have common interest. So for example, you get to know that one of your teacher is going to get married. So whom are you going to communicate this information to? You are going to communicate this information not to somebody whom you do not know, but to your friend only, right? So the information would move through people with similar interest. Now these three people who have been depicted here in this particular picture, you see that they must be friends, otherwise why would they communicate this to each other, right? Now please understand, now since there is no particular format, many times informal communication is colored by individuals' ideas and perceptions. So maybe this guy knows that maybe the teacher is of marriageable age, so it is his perception that the teacher is not coming, maybe because he is getting married. So this particular piece of information may be right or it may be wrong as well. So the communication many times is impacted by the individual's ideas and perception, and that is why there are chances that this informal communication may be inaccurate, and this is when it becomes counterproductive for the organization, bad for the organization, right? And there is no particular format as far as informal channels are concerned. So with this we come to the close of unit number 2. In the next session we'll be discussing unit 3. Thank you very much for your time. Do remember that informal channels also impact the employee beliefs. They influence the employee beliefs or the beliefs of the people in an organization, right? Thank you very much for your time. We'll be starting off with unit 3 in the forthcoming session.